the Supreme Court as it weighs whether or not to gut a major provision of the landmark Voting Rights Act. In a rare move, the High Court reheard arguments in a Louisiana redistricting case over maps the state was required to redraw after being sued under the Voting Rights Act to ensure there were 2 majority black districts. Now, today, the court's conservative majority appeared open to limiting the ability of civil rights groups to challenge state maps under the law. Justice Kavanaugh saying there should be restrictions on the use of race to remedy redistricting violations. Listen.
The issue, as you know, is that this court's cases in a variety of contexts have said that race-based remedies are permissible for a period of time, sometimes for a long period of time, decades in some cases, but that they should not be indefinite and should have an endpoint.
Now, it comes as a redistricting arms race is playing out all across the country, with 2 Republican states already approving new maps, and California is set to put its redrawn map to voters next month. Meanwhile, nearly a dozen other states are at least considering new maps. The majority of those states Republican-led, as the president has urged his party to create more Republican-leaning seats to try to expand their majority in the House. Democrats have vowed to fight fire with fire by redrawing maps in Democratic strongholds, but states like New York face limits from their own constitution, which prohibits gerrymandering. Joining me now on set is NBC's senior Supreme Court reporter Lawrence Hurley. Also with me is NBC's Timm, who covers election policy and voting rights. Thanks so much to both of you for being here. Lawrence, let me start with you. Really significant day at the High Court. What were your key takeaways?
Well, I think, as you mentioned earlier, the signs are that the Supreme Court is going to take another swipe at the Voting Rights Act. I think we sort of knew that even before. We all sat through 2.5 hours of oral arguments based on the fact that it's a conservative majority that's very skeptical of any kind of race-based remedy. And that's what the Voting Rights Act, as it's been interpreted for a long time, has allowed for states to at least consider race when they're drawing new districts to comply with the Voting Rights Act. What we don't know, though, based on the arguments today, is exactly how the court is going to rule, because they have a whole bunch of different options. Some are more kind of aggressive than others. And Justice Kavanaugh, as we mentioned earlier, is kind of probably the swing vote on this case. And so he certainly seemed open to some version that would mean that this map in Louisiana will probably be struck down. So that's sort of where we are right now ahead of a ruling.
How unusual is it for the Supreme Court to rehear a case? Can you put this into context for us and how this would come about?
Yeah, it is pretty unusual, and it's a sign of the court itself kind of managing its own docket, right? Because usually, you know, the cases come up to the court, the 2 sides have their arguments, and the court decides whether they want to hear the case, and then they decide the case. But in this one, they actually heard arguments in it already on a different legal question. And then the court itself said, actually, we want to make this case bigger. We want this case to touch upon this bigger issue of whether in seeking to comply with the Voting Rights Act, states might actually be violating the Constitution. And that wasn't an issue in the case originally. And so this is a sign of the justices, the conservative majority, actually kind of reaching out to take up a bigger issue than the parties actually even wanted them to in the first place.
Lawrence, just help folks understand, because 2 years ago, the court backed the Voting Rights Act when it struck down Alabama's map. So what's changed? Why are we hearing this openness now from the justices?
Yeah, this was something that came up during the oral arguments, because the civil rights plaintiffs who are challenging the original map in Louisiana, making that exact point, they're saying, you just decided this issue already 2 years ago. How can you possibly turn your back on it now? And what it is like 2 key justices, Justice Kavanaugh, as we mentioned, and also the Chief Justice, John Roberts. They were in the majority in that case, but they're both conservatives who are skeptical of race-based remedies. They both signed on to the ruling around that same time that struck down affirmative action in college admissions. And, you know, there's certainly signs that they think they can perhaps vote a different way this time without kind of going against what they voted for a couple of years ago. So we'll see how that plays out.
It's fascinating indeed. Jane, let me turn to you, because, of course, the big question is, how is this going to impact the midterms? How might the outcome of this case impact this broader redistricting battle that I was just talking about?
Kristen, it could take the guardrails off what is already a really unusual and aggressive redistricting arms race, as you called it. We're talking about, say, 12 states that are right now sort of considering or talking about new maps. Add in another 6 or 7. Advocates on the left say that this could be as many as 27 seats could be drawn as safe Republican seats if Section 2 is completely overturned. That's how many seats are sort of at play here. That would be just a dramatic sea change. I mean, you would see, I think, as much as half the country redrawing their congressional maps. This would be just huge, both in terms of remaking the legislature and state legislatures around the country, and just completely changing how, states are represented in Congress.
Well, the scenario that you're laying out is just staggering, Jane. I mean, could this actually backfire, this effort to expand Republican maps?
There's always something called a dummy mander when you do gerrymandering, where if you gerrymander too close to the sun, if you will, you can make a district that you thought would be safe actually competitive. And I will say, historically, around the country, voters don't like gerrymandering. They don't always like the idea of politicians picking the voters that will then elect them potentially. So you could see a backlash if we have an absolutely huge redistricting sea change.
Lawrence, very quickly, before we go here, how quickly, given the enormity of this case, how quickly do you anticipate we'll hear from the Supreme Court? You think it'll be a June decision?
Well, the state of Louisiana has asked the court to decide the case quicker than that. They want a ruling by January, so that, as you just mentioned, they could potentially draw a new map in time for the 2026 midterm elections. And if the court does that, obviously that would open the door to other states doing the same thing. But obviously if the court decides the case a little bit later, closer to June, when the term traditionally ends, that might not give states enough time to do that.
All right, guys. Fantastic conversation and information. Lawrence and Jane, thank you both so much. Really appreciate it.
We thank you for watching, and remember, stay updated on breaking news and top stories on the NBC News app or watch live on our YouTube channel.